Today's episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast is brought to you by AOS Outdoor Kitchens. They are the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast. Today we're speaking to Steve from the Charred Food Company about his journey from barbecue beginner to running a professional barbecue kitchen, all in the space in total of 3 years, but even just cooking professionally within a year. It's a fantastic story, but we'll let Steve talk to you about that. So without much further ado, here's Steve. Hello, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on to the Meet and Greet Barbecue podcast. For anyone who might not know who you are, please do introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Steve, under the moniker of Charred Food Co. on Instagram. It used to be I Can, You Can Cook. I'm doing some stuff to do with that. I'm sure we'll talk about why that name changed before. But yeah, always on Instagram. Started to dip my toe into TikTok and many other different things. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Lovely.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to talking to you. Obviously, we've been in contact for a little while now, and seen some of the things that you're cooking. So, really keen to try and understand a little bit more about what's got you to where you are now, as well as obviously we'll talk. Naturally, we'll start talking about what's planned for the future. But I think I can't remember if it was either on Instagram, Facebook, or it might have even been YouTube. I think I came across you originally, and I know that you've done various kind of bits and pieces on YouTube. Where did you kind of start your culinary journey, should we say?
I mean, I've always cooked. I've always really enjoyed cooking, but I suppose that what we want to talk about is maybe the barbecue stuff started pre-lockdown, funnily enough. A friend of mine who's really into barbecue had a Weber kettle. He only just lives across the road from me. He's into his cooking as well. We're both really into cooking. And I think it was the summer before lockdown. We just had loads of barbecues at his house where we'd just make excuses for me to pick meat up on the way home from work from the butcher's, buy a load of beers and go and sit in his garden and cook it. And we had no clue what we were doing. We didn't know what the vents were for on the bottom of the Weber kettle or anything like that. We were just lighting a fire and burning things on it, and everything just tastes like lighter fluid, like they say, or whatever we use to get it going. And it went from there. Then I started to find things on the internet for cooks, mainly American YouTube videos. I'd send him links, he'd send me links, and yeah, that's where it started. That's where it grew from. And then I got myself a Weber kettle, but it was the most basic one with the 3 little vents on the bottom that you have to burn your fingers on to adjust when it's cooking. So I had that one first. Lockdown hit, and that was when I really got into barbecue. So I was grilling before, but I wasn't doing anything like smoking or anything else like that. Lockdown hit, was barbecuing loads, but also cooking loads, because I was a joiner by trade. I had my own business doing like replacement windows, doors, conservatories, and that kind of thing for many years. Put me in good stead. Earned a good living off it, but just the last few years, hated it. Just hated when the alarm would go off in the morning. Just it was depressing, especially if it was raining outside, and I was working on a site, and I just thought, can I do something with this? And like I say, during lockdown, I started to do things online. So I started to host Zoom calls like this with pals, cooking, showing them how to make curries or fake KFC or fake McDonald's and things like that, and doing stuff with the kids because you couldn't get any of that during lockdown. So when I could eventually get the ingredients to do it, started doing it, and just it just kind of snowballed. So all the things online got more and more. I was recording videos. All my friends were like, you should do this, you should post things on the internet, you should go to Instagram. And I opened an Instagram account. I had 2 Instagram accounts. One of them was doing okay during lockdown, and then it got hacked. And I had no clue how to get it back. And then I just started to post things on the other one, which was the I Can, You Can Cook. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And these doors just started to open. People started to contact me, and I don't want to name drop and put, say, oh, this guy give me this for free, but I did get a few things sent to me because I don't want them getting mithered off people, which again just sort of fed that hunger that I had to learn as much as I could about barbecue. And the more I learned, the more I loved it. And it wasn't just the cooking side of it. It was the talking about it. It was the cooking for people, and people go, "Oh my God, how did you cook this beef?" And just getting that feedback and the interaction. And I think, that's still what keeps me going now. I think just the feedback that you get from people when you do it. You guys know yourself, you entertain a lot. And I think that's what fuels the fire in your belly to keep going and just get better and better at achieving things and trying to improve on the knowledge you've already got, because you'll never know everything about barbecue. I learn things all the time, and it's evolving so quickly, especially now with technology and the things that are coming out. But yeah, that's where it all started really for me during lockdown. And you guys, I said it just before we started recording, you guys are a huge part of why I'm here. So thanks for making me give up a very well-paid career and search for a job in hospitality, which pays terribly. But no, I'm loving it.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm in a fortunate.
Anytime.
I'm in a very fortunate position, and it was my wife who gave me the push, and my family that gave me the push. So just try it, because if you don't try it, you'll never know, and you'll always regret not trying it. And I'm fortunate because I've got a trade. If it doesn't work out, I've still got the trades, and I've still got the contacts in the trade, and I still moonlight here and there. If I've got a quiet week, I'll go and do like surveys and things like that for other friends who are still in that industry. So, and I need that money to subsidise the bobbins money that there is in hospital. But yeah, so there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of people. I'd be here all day thanking the people that have been involved in me making the decisions that I've made to get here from those early days during lockdown. But I mean, you guys are definitely part of that. So yeah, thanks.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Yeah,
Making us
thank you.
blush.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'd love to dig into that more, because the amount of people that we speak to, whether it be at shows or whether it be through Instagram, that their dream is to be able to chuck in the day job, as it were, and actually be able to just cook, whether it be on barbecue or even just cooking in general, and for that to be the main part of their life. It's very brave what you've done, and exciting as well. And
That's
it
scary.
sounds, yeah, I imagine, and the support that you had around you must have helped. But what did it feel like when you first made that choice? And on top of that, when did you know that it was going to be okay?
I mean, initially it was super scary. It was. You hear people talking about imposter syndrome. Like, I knew what that meant straight away. And I didn't, it wasn't like, right, okay, I'm going to stop doing this job on Friday and I'm going to start this new job on Monday. I was trying to be as smart about it as I could. So I carried on working. I had some contracts that I needed to finish. But I knew that I didn't have to put 5 days a week into it.
Mm.
So I started to speak to people locally who had food businesses, restaurants or takeaways. And I already had them contacts because I started to do a radio slot once a fortnight on local radio, which is about food. So it could be me talking about a recipe that I've cooked. It could be me reviewing a restaurant. Again, that was accidental how I fell into that. That's a whole other story. But basically, I already knew some people in and around the little town where I live in Altrincham, and I just kind of reached out and said, "Look, would you have any interest of giving this daft middle-aged guy who's having a midlife crisis a couple of shifts and showing him how a professional kitchen works?" And a few people were like, yeah, sure, come down. Like, but one of them was, am I all right saying the name of businesses on it?
Yeah,
of course.
One of them was a burger place called I Call Myself Sanchez, and it's run by a real chef who is a Portuguese chef. And it's a burger place, but it's like gourmet style burgers, so it's not like your typical like greasy spoon type thing. The ingredients they use are all from like local farms. It's all local produce. It's like higher end. The kitchen is tiny. I'm not lying. It's probably the size, if you imagine 4 telephone boxes put together, that's how big the kitchen is. It's tiny because it's in this little courtyard that's got all trendy bars around it. So they've got great footfall. It's always dead busy. And I went and started to do a couple of shifts there. I was warned off it by numerous people who already worked in the industry, saying it's hard work, working in a kitchen, it's high stress and this, that and the other. And I was like, listen, you've not been on a building site on a Monday morning when all the plasterers have come in and they've been on it all weekend. Listen, that's stress. That's stress. When customers are ringing you saying, why is my conservatory roof not on and it's peeing down? That's stress. And then a strange thing happened. I was interviewing a couple who were opening a restaurant just up the road in a place called Knutsford. It's quite well-to-do, very nice little village. And they'd had restaurants down south, very established chef, husband and wife team. Were coming up to Cheshire and opening a restaurant. And I was going to interview them for the radio show that I do, to talk to them about what they're bringing to the area and, you know, what kind of food it's going to be. And it was a fine dining restaurant. And I just got chatting like I'm chatting to you guys. We met in a coffee shop. And I was speaking to Chris, the chef. And obviously when you get two people who like food talking, that's it. You're not going to shut them up. So I was telling him all about, he was really interested in, you know, what I do with barbecue and smoking meats and things like that. And I said, you know, I was getting some experience because I'm hoping to take this road into catering or, you know, food or whatever. And he basically offered me a job. And stupidly, I accepted it. Not stupidly, but just, I don't know what the word is. You know, I threw caution to the window and thought, sod it, I'm going to do it. So that became quite intense. And that was September through to January. I worked the busiest period, like restaurant just opened. Fine dining, never done anything like that before in my life, over the Christmas period, Christmas and New Year. And I absolutely loved it. Chris was amazing. I learned more in those few months, I think, than in a compressed portion of time than I ever have learned anything in my life. I was like a sponge, just soaking it all up. And the fine dining aspect of it, again, just ignited something in me that I was like, this is what I want to do. And yeah, I went from there to where I am now, which is in a barbecue restaurant in Stoke-on-Trent, which is about half an hour up the road. And I'm running the kitchen. Crazy.
That's quite a journey. And really, when you've started from in a chefing point of view within less than a year.
Yeah, I have no right to be running a kitchen anywhere. I can just about run the kitchen in my own house. I have no right. But yeah, it's like I say, these doors were opening, and I'm a big believer in like things happen for a reason. So when these opportunities present themselves to me, I try to grab hold of them. If I can make it work, and it's not going to affect my family in an adverse way, then I try to take advantage of anything that's put in front of me. And yeah, that's where I am now. But I've had so many conversations with people in and around the industry and learned so much in the few months. I mean, it's not even a year, really, that I've been in a professional kitchen. And I'm running this kitchen.
Any regrets?
No, not one. I think it's the best thing I ever did. I'm having so much... I don't want to use the word fun. I'm really enjoying it, because if you use the word fun, it sounds like it's a walk in the park, and it's not. It's extremely hard. The hours are crazy, like unsociable hours. But just learning about that camaraderie between a team that runs a business that's in hospitality and all the trials and tribulations that go with that. It's just been a fresh challenge. And I urge anyone who is late 30s, early 40s, around my age, you know, if they're stuck in a rut and it's viable security-wise, financial security-wise, to try something else, even if it's going to night school and doing it on top of the job that you're doing, give things a try. It might not work. This might not work. You might interview me again next year and I'm like, you guys done me over. This is terrible. I blame you.
I was going to say, I love how this is all on us, mate.
But I would urge anyone to do it. It's kind of, yeah, it got me out. I was stuck in a rut. I was miserable. And when you like that, you guys have spoke about this before, because I think one of the earlier shows that I listened to that really caught my interest with you guys was the Q Together sort of bits and bobs that you did. And I'm not saying I was depressed or anything like that, but I was definitely not myself for a period of time. And I feel like I'm myself now. I enjoy the challenge of it all. So yeah.
And so now you're running the kitchen. Are you kind of, because it's a smokehouse, isn't it?
Yes.
That you're at. So are you fully in charge of the menu and what kind of comes out of it? So interested to know then, taking from where you were, 3 years ago, to just starting to learn on a Weber, to now running a smokehouse kitchen. Where are you now finding that inspiration to keep that menu fresh, appealing, exciting for you as cooks in the kitchen, but also for the guests that are coming, that may be regulars that come in every Friday, Saturday, and they want something new. Where do you kind of get your inspiration from?
Multiple places. I think the main thing is interactions with other people who are into food, not necessarily just barbecue. I've made a lot of, my wife calls them pretend friends. Internet friends who you've never met, those ones. Pretend friends on the internet who I speak to regularly, who are also into food. Ruben from Ruben Rubens, I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram. I speak to him semi-regular. How the hell do you do that? Please give me. And he's that guy is so open and just he replies to every message. He's supportive, and just relationships like that building. I get all of that from there, but also now being in hospitality and speaking to suppliers. So the butcher that we use in Stoke, catering butcher, I now use them as a personal butcher as well, just because I know the quality is right. And Liam, who is the guy there that I deal with, who deals with all our orders, he's really into his barbecue as well. So he knew of my social media accounts before I'd met him, which was really cool because we already had that sort of point of contact to speak about things. So much so that he's now open to me suggesting cuts of meat or styles of hot link sausages that he's going to produce and sell in his shop, and things like that. And he gives me loads of ideas as well. He's like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried using pork collar instead of pork shoulder for your pulled pork? And I wouldn't have done that unless he said it, because we do kind of, I think as barbecues, we get stuck in a way like this is how this is done, and we don't stray from that lane. But being in the restaurant industry has kind of opened my eyes a bit that you need to push things and try things. The menu at the restaurant currently, we try and change it as much as we can. We want to change it, not change the whole menu, but change things on the menu at least weekly or fortnightly. But we're just waiting for our smoker to be moved because that takes up a big chunk of the kitchen at the moment. So the kitchen's quite small. I'm cursed with small kitchens, unfortunately. So that's where I get my inspiration from, I think. Instagram.
It's not the size, Steve. It's what you do with it.
It's not the size of the ship. It's the motion of the ocean out here. But
imagine what you do with a girthy kitchen.
Yeah. But Instagram is still huge for me. Instagram is the place that I go when I've got 5 minutes, whether it's sat on the toilet or I've got 5 minutes in work before service. It's Instagram. I'm flicking through and seeing what other people are doing and just being inspired. I think that's one of the positives of social media, and not just in cooking, in any hobby that you've got. Social media is a great tool to be inspired and share what you're doing and have feedback on it. Because there's a lot of negatives to the internet. Well, I think social media in this case is amazing and helps everyone, I think.
We've talked about it so much that there's something about the barbecue Instagram community which is so supportive, and you can reach out to so many people, and they're not just willing to engage, but excited that someone else is talking about barbecue. And anyone urging, or anyone who's looking at kind of starting that journey, I'd urge you to reach out to people because they just want to help. And on that point, going back to when you were first kind of exploring the American style low and slow, I'd love for you if you talk us through either the first or one of your favorite kind of things that you tried from then, and how that went, and then take us through to what you know now, being a culinary professional running a kitchen, and how that's changed and some of the tips that have developed over time to give you what you can do now.
Yeah. So, I mean, the things when you search in the internet, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, and the big names, your Franklins and all that kind of stuff, or Meat Church, all that kind of, the things that they post the most of, because they get the most hits from it, is like brisket and things like that, or beef ribs. So beef ribs have always been my favorite thing, and I know you're pretty keen on them as well, Dan. I think I was asking for how you cut yours at one point. But I've always preferred beef ribs over brisket. That might change if I ever go to America, get the opportunity to go to America and have their brisket. But for what we can get, I've always preferred beef ribs. So I wanted to make sure I could nail beef ribs, and I have ruined so many racks of beef ribs in the early days. Just too tough. All it was being scared to trust your instincts and think, oh, they need another hour, and then you give them the other hour, and you've done them in, they're dry. And that was the thing I wanted to nail. So yeah, we have beef ribs on the menu at the restaurant, and I think with the amount of beef ribs that I now cook on a weekly basis, I think I've nailed them. So that would be the one thing that I failed at miserably when I first tried to do a low and slow, to now where that's the thing that I think that's the thing that most of my friends and family know me for. That'll be the thing that if someone's coming for a barbecue, or I cook barbecue a lot now at friends as well. So I've got one on the 10th of August, friend's wife's birthday. Oh, we're having it's that conversation. Oh, we're having a barbecue. You're invited, by the way. Oh, great. Yeah, that'd be nice. Do you want to help us out with the barbecue? And they've got like a $49.99 B&Q tin pot special, and I'm like, I cannot cook on that. But with ribs, it's great because I can cook them myself at home, and then just hot hold them and bring them with me, and they're even better when you do it that way. So yeah, I think ribs would be the one for me.
To me, that's when you know you've nailed something, when you have the confidence that when they're done, to wrap them and take them with you as they're resting.
Yeah.
Because for ages, even if I was cooking something, I was confident with it. As soon as it's resting, don't touch, don't move around, don't do anything. If anyone breathes near it,
don't look at it.
Then I need to know why. Yeah, exactly. Right. Whereas when the Euros was on recently, I did some pulled pork. I got very lucky with the timings, because I thought it was going to be about 8 hours. It took 9.5, but it just hit kind of 96 and was feeling like butter finally. Literally, as I had to wrap it and run down to get the train, I was meeting Owen and one of our other friends. But I never would have had the confidence before to just wrap it multiple times, stick it in a Pyrex dish and think, right, that's going to rest.
Yeah.
Jump on the train, go through.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember I did a rack, and this is how frequent it was. It was the Queen's Jubilee. Now, I know, God rest her soul, she's not here anymore, but it wasn't that long ago, the Queen's Jubilee. And I did a rack of ribs for where I live. On the front, we've got like a green, and all our houses are around the green. And in the summer, like, we all go out, and sometimes we have barbecue, sometimes we just get picnic blankets out and snacks and have a drink. And we decided to have this Queen's Jubilee barbecue. It rained. It was terrible weather. Of
course.
Up in Manchester. So we ended up just going in someone's house, but I had this rack of ribs on my smoker. And that was the time when I sliced into them and realised that everyone was like, these are so good. And I'm looking at them thinking, they are a mess. They're too dry. They're too tough. But I mean, everyone loved them. But yeah, that was the point when I said, I need to be able to do ribs. I can't call myself a barbecuer unless I can cook my favourite thing well. And yeah, I think I'm there now. I cooked 18 racks a few weeks ago. I did a pop-up a few weeks ago, and I cooked 18 racks in one sitting. So I cooked them in work, on the I was in work, wrapped them, took them out, put them back in to finish them off, took them home in a hot hold in the car, got me my hot hold ovens that I've got here, and served them the next day, and they were next level delicious.
For beginners, talk us through that. Yeah, I'd love to know that. Sorry,
say that again.
For any beginners listening,
yes,
talk them through the best way to produce some beef ribs. What would you advise them with?
The way I do them in work is really simple. When I do them at home, it's slightly different because depends. You've got to. This is probably a great tip for beginners. Don't think that what I tell you or what you guys tell them or what someone on YouTube tells them, temperatures and times and all that kind of stuff, is how you cook a certain thing. You need to learn your barbecue, your smoker, because everyone's different. So my smoker here, I can cook at the exact same temps as I do in work, and it takes longer to get to what I want. But in work, we've got a big cabinet smoker. It's an American Cook Shack Fast Eddy FEC 120. It's got about 6 racks. It's a pellet smoker. It's amazing. But once you shut that door and seal that door, I don't know whether it's because it's a sealed environment, and I've got all my probes in and everything's tracked and it self-regulates itself. But this is the simplest recipe. So put whatever rub that you're putting on it with, whether you're using hot sauce, mustard as a binder. You might not even need a binder if they're tacky ribs already. Put whatever rub you want on them. I cook them for the first hour and 20 minutes, about 120, 130 degrees. And then that's centigrade. I always get mixed up still with centigrade and Fahrenheit. It's a shocker. For the first hour, just to get some smoke into them, and then whack it up to 250F, and cook it through till it's about 75, 76 degrees centigrade internal. I'm bouncing backwards and forwards. I am aware of this. Once they hit around there, I then wrap them and then get them back in. And I just consistently 250 degrees Fahrenheit all the way through until you hit, depends how you like them. So some people like them to have a bite. We found that in work, the customers like them almost falling apart. So we take them to about 95, 96, something like that. Take them out, let them cool a little bit. And then you don't have to do this at home. You can just wrap them in cling film if you want, but we vacuum pack them once they've cooled. And then just keep them in a hot hold cupboard at 65 degrees. And the longer you hold them, the better they get. If you can do it overnight, even better. But at least I would say, for best results, 3 hours, 3 hour hold, I think. We when I first started doing them, I was doing an hour, sometimes not even an hour, because you want to see if it's worked. You want to see if all that effort has worked. And there's nothing wrong with them, but all that'll happen is as soon as you slice into them, all your juices will just flow out of them because it's still too tight. The meat's too tight. So you just need to let the meat relax.
Would you say that's your most popular dish, or?
Yeah, by far. Yeah, by far. That's what people keep coming to the restaurant. We were going to try brisket. Brisket's really hard to make pay in a kind of a restaurant environment, just because it's so expensive, and the amount that how little you would give per portion to actually make money on it. I don't think people would want to pay it. Depends what area you're in. The area that the restaurant is in, I don't think they'd want to pay it. You can have a big, fat, juicy beef rib for the same price as maybe 2 or 3 pieces of brisket. It's a big difference. But yeah, that's what people keep coming back for. That's what people keep tagging us in Instagram for. So yeah, the beef ribs. I do love a smoked chicken though.
Whole chicken spatch. Do you spatchcock it?
Yeah, spatchcock. I did one yesterday. It wasn't anything special. Liam from Catering Butcher is going to string me up because it was just an Aldi special. I went to Aldi. I was only just feeling better and started to get my taste back yesterday, so I thought, sod it, I'm going to get a barbecue on. I did a spatchcock chicken and one of those, the big daddy Aldi steaks, which actually looked really good when it was vacuum packed. And then I opened it and it looked like, the face huggers off Alien. It was just all bits of flappy bits hanging off it. It was a shocker. So it was really hard to cook. It turned out okay. It was only for me, the wife and the kids. So it was all right. Yeah.
I'd like to go back to one of your earlier comments, I think, when you were kind of introducing yourself and kind of talking about how you got into now being a chef from being a joiner. Do you still do the radio?
Yes, not as regular. I'm finding now that I'm a bit of a busy fool. I've got so much on with working at the restaurant, Charred Food Co, which is, I think, there you can see. That's kind of not only my Instagram name, it's a catering business that I've started up. So I'll be doing pop-ups and things like that. So my time is less so. There's just not enough hours in the day. Or days in the week. I've got a young family as well. I've got 2 girls, 10 and 12. So any spare time that I get now, one of the reasons for making the decision to do what I'm doing and come away from tools and being a joiner and it was my own business. I was working all the time. I was out the house at 5:30, 6 in the morning, not getting home till 7. And then you're answering all your emails and customers are ringing you till 10 o'clock at night. That was one of the reasons to walk away from that. So I could have more quality time with the family, because I also have a son who's 26, and when he was young, I was a lot younger then and working, trying to get the business going, and I was chasing the money all the time. So I missed so much of like sports days, school days out, and just and I didn't want to do that any longer. I wanted to make this. It was a big chunk of why I did it. So it wasn't just you guys. So I won't just blame you guys if it doesn't work. There was other reasons. So yeah, sorry. What was the question again? I branch off. You've got to keep me on track.
No. So I was just radio talking about food.
Yes,
local radio talking about food. Do you still do it? You mentioned
not
as often.
Yeah, so I still do it. It's more of a casual thing now rather than it used to be a fortnightly slot. So it's more now when I get time to come in and sit down and record. Because I only need to record about 30, 40 minutes. So it used to be a lot of the recipes that were on my my blog, my website, or on the YouTube channel. So it would be stuff that I was cooking at home. I'd share the recipes on there, talk through them, or do interviews and things like that. But then when I started to do this and it was all barbecue, I did discuss that, and I felt, I don't know if it come across this way, but I felt like every show that I started, the last probably 10 shows that I did were all about barbecue. And I was thinking, I thought, maybe these people are not into barbecue like I am. Maybe they're thinking, I wish you'd stop harping on about barbecue. We don't care. Show us how to do a spaghetti bolognese, you plonker.
You can just on a cast iron skillet over some hot coals.
So I'm still on there. I get on really well with Rod Maxwell, who was the guy who interviewed me originally and then said, "Do you want to do a regular slot?" Because it's part of his show, and we still keep in touch. And he's a great guy. It's just not as regular as it was. It's something that I hope I can get back to on a more regular basis because I do enjoy doing it, and it kind of keeps my finger on the pulse of what's going on locally, which will obviously help me with any ventures that I've got on this side going forward as well.
So you mentioned there's a couple of things I want to kind of touch upon then in terms of as we look to the future. Charred Food Company, you mentioned you're going to be doing some pop-ups, etc. Mm-hmm. So are you going to be doing that locally to start off with and then start going to the kind of barbecue festivals and events? Or you hope, what's your plans?
Yeah, so the plan, again, the end goal, the goalposts keep moving. So depending which week you catch me on, I'll have a different end goal. I've already done I think I've done four pop-ups locally. And they've all gone down really, really well to the point like people are saying, where are you next? I get messages, when are you doing a pop-up next? Where is it? I couldn't get to the last one. I want to get to the next one, which again is like what I said earlier on, is it really fuels the fire, and getting feedback like that's amazing. It kind of reassures you that what you're doing is the right thing to do, and you're not just doing it half-assed. Like people are noticing that there's nowhere else locally that they can get that kind of food. It was possible to get that kind of food from a barbecue because there's a lot of people, I think we take for granted that we know what low and slow means. We know what smoking means. You say the word barbecue and some people, it's a very small subject, when in reality it's huge. But anyone who's not into it doesn't realise. So when you say, I kind of thought that when I say, no, it's barbecue food, people wouldn't be interested because they'd think it was sausages and burgers. Nothing wrong with sausages and burgers. I love sausages and burgers, but I didn't think it would grab people's attention. But I think we're in a fortunate position, especially up north, because down south you guys are a bit ahead of us with the barbecue scene. There's far more barbecue restaurants, far more options, far more people doing it as a business, catering wise. But it is starting to spread, so people are starting to realise what it is. And it was really nice. The last one that I did, I had quite a few people turn up from the I Can You Can Cook Facebook group, which is a Facebook group to do with the initial thing that I started to do with the online Zoom stuff and all that. And people are still very active on it. It's great. And people travelled to come to the pop-up, which was really, really nice and kind of heartwarming. And I've got plans for it. What the end goal is, I don't know. Do I want to be sweating my back out on a Saturday afternoon in the summer when I'm pushing 50, serving people? I don't know. Maybe if I can get the business going and get someone else to do that bit, I can just do the cooking the day before. But a funny story, actually, we had not the last pop-up, the one before, it was for my wife's gym. The owners would do an annual barbecue for all their members. So she said, "Oh, do you want me to put your name forward?" So I was like, "Yeah, put my name forward. It's a prepaid event. It's great. It's what everyone wants as a caterer. It's guaranteed money." And so I was chatting to the owner of the gym, and he was like, "Yeah, I've put the word out on all the WhatsApp groups." I was like, "I need an idea of numbers because it's getting quite close now, mate. I need to know how much meat I'm buying and stuff like that." He's like, "Yeah, I think it's about 68 people." I was like, "Oh, that's a nice number. That's a nice number." And I'd roped in Deck from Cheshire Grill. He's on Instagram as well, and he started to do the pop-ups with me. Again, he's another. He was a pretend friend. Now he's a real friend. We've actually met, and he's not a mass murderer, so that's good. But he said, "Yeah, that's about 68 people." So I thought, that's a nice number for us, that. And then a couple of days before the event, he told me it was 68 names, but it was 68 people with their partners and kids. So it was almost 200 people to serve food to, just me and Deck in a pop-up tent. That was when I had to do the 18 racks of ribs. I think we did something stupid like 40 chickens, which we cut in half, brined, cooked on the day, a load of burgers, pulled pork, and it nearly broke me. And halfway through that, I was questioning the choices that I'd made. I was like, this is not for me. This is not fun. This isn't fun at all. And then at the end, the elation of handing that last plate of food out and the feedback we got from everyone there was just like, actually, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. It's amazing.
If you've been looking or thinking about an outdoor kitchen, then look no further than AOS Outdoor Kitchens.
They are the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.
Their extensive showroom is based just outside Bournemouth on the Dorset-Hampshire border, and as well as numerous in-store displays, also features a live outdoor kitchen where they cook every week on Kamado grills, pizza ovens, and all filmed and shown on YouTube.
They offer a wealth of knowledge on how to transform your patio into the most incredible outdoor dining area with styles and options to suit every budget, and you can guarantee they will be able to create something perfectly suited to you and your home.
They stock and supply everything that you're going to need for outdoor cooking, including barbecues, Kamado ovens, pizza ovens, outdoor fridges, and every accessory that you would need to become the ultimate outdoor chef.
So if you want to make yourself the envy of your friends and neighbours, get in touch with them today to arrange a consultation and take the first step in transforming your back garden into the most incredible entertainment space.
Visit aoskitchens.co.uk. So talking about Deck from Cheshire Grill, so we see recently that there's another Instagram that's popped up, and I think you've got some plans in the pipeline to enter the podcasting world.
Yeah, so I'm one of those weird guys that I've got quite an addictive personality. So when I start doing something, like I do it full throttle. I used to play a lot of Saturday League and Sunday League football until my eldest daughter was born, and my wife said, this ends now. None of this where I see you on a Saturday morning and I don't see you till Sunday night. That stops now. Right. I took up golf, and I got all in on golf, spent fortunes on golf clubs, and I was playing golf all the time. But that ended up being worse than the football because a round of golf takes about 4 or 5 hours. So yeah, I should have known really that buying a barbecue was a bad move. But yeah, so I got chatting to Deck online because he's fairly local. He's just up the road in Winsford. He's in Cheshire as well. And I can't actually remember how we first got chatting. There's a WhatsApp community. Are you in the WhatsApp community? I can't. I'm in the Northwest group, so there's a WhatsApp community for barbecue. I'll add you sneakily. If you're not in, you should be in. And I think it was on there that we actually went backwards and forwards with a few things. And it was actually Deck that introduced me to Ruben from Rubens. Not introduced me, but said, "Oh, have you seen this guy?" And he travels a lot with work, so he goes to London a lot and things like that. And he's mad into his food, so he tries all these places, on the company expenses like you do. And that's how we got chatting, and we just got on really well. We kind of just sort of cut from the same cloth. We're into the same stuff, same music, same scenes, and both like barbecue and both like to eat. So we got chatting. I asked him if he was interested in helping with the pop-ups. He was, which meant we were talking a lot more. Then we eventually met, and we just talk nonsense about barbecue all the time. And I kind of said that I've always had it at the back of my mind to do like a podcast or something of that ilk, or some sort of regular series maybe on YouTube or something. And I thought it'd say no, because he doesn't talk as much as I do. Scott Deck. He's quite quiet. You know what I mean? Until you get him out of his shell, he's quite quiet. But he was like, yeah, I'm up for it. So I was like, sweet. He come up with a name, really good name. He's just had a new shack built in his back garden. He come up with a name. And yeah, it's going to be entirely different. It's not going to be sort of like this, where it's guest driven, and it's going to be more us just sort of shooting the you know what, and we're probably going to cook different things, try and sort of get people to say, try cooking this, and we'll have a go at cooking it. We're still ironing out the creases, but we want to get a few episodes recorded first, as you guys probably know. Like, I would rather have stuff in the bank than sort of say, right, let's meet every 2 weeks and record something, because in reality that just won't happen. So yeah, I'm excited about that. From the shack.
Yeah, can't wait to hear. It's obviously when we started, there was a UK based podcasts, and obviously ultimately it's about engaging more people into the UK barbecue. So whether it's our podcast, your podcast, someone else's, it doesn't matter. It's all beneficial for UK barbecue. But I think for a while now we've kind of been running solo in terms of that, because I think they kind of closed down towards the end of lockdown. But so it'd be nice. It'd be interesting to kind of again start widening that pool of podcast listeners.
I think so. I think social media is a weird. I've been in a few different communities outside of the barbecue community on like social media, and I don't know whether it's because I've come from a background of always working for myself and being self-employed, that your business is built on relationships and speaking to people and helping scratching each other's back. I don't know if that's the case, why I feel differently about stuff, but I always think that it depends if you look at people as competition, there's such a thing as healthy competition, but then there's another thing of it can be quite negative to look at everyone, and everyone's just quite guarded about their secrets and what they do. And I think actually, because I know I will, I'll shout from the rooftops that the reason I'm probably doing the podcast and this, is like I said it before, you guys were a big part of fueling the need for me to learn more and want to do more around barbecue. So, if you never know, we might introduce new people to your podcast, because that's another thing as well. I think the hardest thing with social media and podcasts and YouTube is getting your stuff in front of new eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've got that sort of core group of people, it's quite hard to get past that and keep going, and you need people to talk about it and say, if you've not checked these guys out, go and check them out. And I know that's how it works in the construction game when you're self-employed. I say, I've got a plumber, here's his number. I've got an electrician, here's his number. They'll say, I know a guy who can do your windows and your conservatory, here's his number. And I think it works like that for everything. It's just that people have this weird outlook that everything's competition and you've got to be dead secretive about everything.
And also, you are completely right about getting some momentum and backing behind you. So you have a number of bits and pieces recorded. I mean, peek behind the curtain, but Owen and I try to record in blocks where possible. And in a perfect world, we're not going to tell you whether that's the case now or not, we'd love to have a whole series recorded and edited and dropping. So it all drops. So there's no problems coming up. There's nothing you have to worry about. But part of me also worries that towards the end of the block recordings, could people potentially tell? So if anyone can, go back and listen and tell us if there's any episodes where you think maybe that's towards the end of a run. Maybe we're better at the end of the run. Maybe we're better at the start. But definitely having a load there takes the pressure off, because you don't want to get the point where you think, I've got another episode dropping next Wednesday. It's not recorded. When am I going to edit it? Because editing takes forever as well.
Yeah, it's the worst. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, Owen. Owen, it's the worst.
All right, you do one bit, I'll do everything else. Yeah, that's how we do it. But again, what we found is, I think there's a stat, and I can't remember the stat off the top of my head, but we were doing a lot of research when we first started, that not many podcasts go past episode 6. There's kind of there's like a burnout that happens. And I think we jumped in. It was just a spur of the moment. I think I texted you, Dan, didn't I? Just going, hey, fancy doing a podcast? And he was, yeah. And it was like a week later, we'd ordered mics. We were doing it. There was no time to really. But I think we quickly realised when we got between, it was a real. I've got to be careful the way I say it. It was really kind of fun, new, and exciting to do those first 6 episodes. But then the actual amount of work. That goes in, it's not the recording is the easy bit. Having the conversations, the laugh, it's all the bits behind that. Some days you're just like, oh god, I've got a 4-hour episode to cut down to an hour, or I've got 20 platforms I've got to upload this to, or whatever. It takes a while to get into the swing of kind of just streamlining the process.
Yeah, and it's really hard to stop something that starts out as a hobby becoming a job. And when it becomes a job, it's less fun. And I think you guys have mentioned it before. You've mentioned it in a few episodes where you're like, burnout, and I've not been out and cooked on the barbecue for X amount of time. I think that's normal. And I think we can put too much pressure on ourselves that we need. Oh, I should be out there 3-4 times a week. Currently, I normally am, and I'm cooking. I cook as a job now, anyway. But before that, there were times where I might go a month and not like the barbecue. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think I've sometimes gone to type it and put comments on your things. I thought, no, I don't know them that well. I think I'm just some weirdo on the internet. But I think
that's all we are. That is all we are.
I think sometimes just recording an episode and chatting. I've said to Dec, I think we're not just going to talk about barbecue. That's going to be the theme of why the barbecue's there. But I think we're both into football. We're both from the Northwest. We might touch on stuff like that. I don't know yet. I'm not 100%, but I want to try and keep it as free flowing. And I know when I listen to podcasts, I don't mind if it goes off topic. I listen to podcasts when I'm in the car. That's when I listen to you guys. That's when I listen to my Joe Rogan, or I listen to a lot of weird culinary stuff now. I'm like a proper food snob. But I listen to all sorts. But I don't mind if they go off track. I actually quite like it. It's quite refreshing sometimes, because you can sort of get yourself stuck in this rut where you're like, I need to consume barbecue content. I need ideas. I need this. Sometimes you do need a break from it, and I think that's fine. I think you're not talking about. We're not talking about barbecue now. We're talking about podcasts, and it's probably interesting. Yeah. Someone out there listening to it will find it interesting, because they might be thinking of doing a podcast about fishing or whatever. I don't know, computer games, or it doesn't have to always. We trick ourselves that I think I need to tick all these boxes, and I don't think you do. People listen to you because you guys are fun to listen to, and I think, from my point of view, been on a bit of a barbecue journey with you guys. Like, we've never met, we've never spoke on a few messages before this interview, but I've listened to you loads in the car. I'm like this weird stalker from the north.
Is that you? I can see outside my window.
It looks like me.
It's the bushes. You briefly touched upon it, but the two key things, as we kind of said to you before, Steve, before we started recording, and by now people are, I'm sure, realise that we don't actually have a clue what we're going to talk about until we start talking. But the only two things that we like to do, and I want to do them back to back just because I want to make sure that we get them in.
Okay.
Barbecue fails, barbecue bingo. So there are core things that we've started since launch. So you briefly mentioned about how some ribs have not cut the mustard. Excuse me, but have you got any amusing stories of barbecue fails for us?
They might be amusing for you. They weren't amusing for me at the time.
The funnier for us, the better.
There's quite a recent one, actually, which I think just goes to show that you should never get too big for your boots and think that you know everything, because you don't. And it was in the restaurant, and I think it was a Thursday night. It was a late booking, so the kitchen closes at 8:00 on a Thursday, unless we sell out before. And we got this booking for 8:00, and it was for 8 people. So the number 8 was not my favourite number on that night because it's in Stoke. I do like to get clean down and get away and try and get back on the M6, back to Altrincham. And they ordered 4 platters. We do a platter for 2, which has got beef rib. It's got a beef rib on it. It's got a half chicken on it. It's got pork belly and a hot link sausage, and then loads of like garnishes and things like that. So they'd ordered 4 of these platters for 2 for 8 of them. So I'd come in and I was just trying to get through it dead quick. And in my head, I thought, right, okay, this is what I need to do. And the way we do our half chickens, we smoke them in the smoker for about an hour and a half till they hit temp. And then we take them off and we hot hold them in the hot hold oven. Now, it holds them and keeps them nice and moist in there, which is great. But the problem is with chicken, skin doesn't stay crispy. As soon as you put it in an environment like that, steam makes it go. It goes. It's not nice. It's just not how you want it. So we inherited in the kitchen where we are. It used to be a pizza place before it was this barbecue place, and we inherited this huge, real sort of pizza oven, which is a fantastic oven. I just wish it wasn't there because it takes up half the chicken. But we do use it for this sole intention of we put a cast iron hot plate in there, and when we're serving the chickens, we take the chicken out of the hot hold, we put it skin side down on these griddles on the cast iron, and it just puts a nice char on them and it makes the skin crispy again. Great. But it happens in like 15 seconds because it's like 500 degrees or something. So in my head, I'd planned out, right, four platters, got my trays down, got all my paper down, got all my garnishes done, got the pork belly out the thing you put onto the hot plate. I thought, right, I'll grab these chickens, I'll put the chickens on, get the ribs out, put the ribs on. So I do that. I get the chickens out, put them on, skin side down, get my ribs out, taking them out. And then my mind just went, I think it's because it was tired, I was late. I just started faffing about with all my garnishes and trying to make these ribs look really nice. And I could just smell this burning. They were the last 4 chickens that I had because I'd saved them because I knew they pre-ordered, so I knew what they wanted. And I just looked, and there was just 4 half chickens in the pizza oven on fire. And I was like, oh no! And I had to apologise profusely and say, I'm going to have to swap out your half chicken for a bucket load of wings. I do apologise. And I had to just get loads of wings out and deep fry wings and put the wings on instead. I mean, they were great. They were fine. They were previous customers they've been before. And I just said I'd look after them when they come, but never take your eye off anything. Don't get too confident. So yeah, that was a fail. That was my most recent fail. I've had loads of fails in the early days, but that's the most recent one.
I don't think I've had any fails recently.
Show off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, I don't fail.
Oh no, I definitely do. No, I definitely do. I just lost a few things. You know, when you try and pick up some food and you end up dropping it all over the floor. I did some of that recently, but that's pretty vanilla, to be honest. I don't have anything juicy, which is a bit. Yeah, I was hoping because we haven't podcasted for a while, Dan, that we could have saved some up. But...
I think when you're cooking at home, though, you kind of most of the stuff that you cook at home, you're used to cooking, and you can sort of do it with your eyes closed. It's only when you try new things, really, or like me, you get distracted. But yeah, most of the stuff you do at home, I think you're pretty safe with if you've done it a few times.
Ahem, hold my beer. So,
except you, Dan.
Yeah. Been ages since I used the rock box. First time I fired it up since being in the new place, and luckily I'd done 6 dough balls, like 300 grams each. I managed to save 2, and so I was cooking for myself, my wife, and the 2 little ones. And luckily, you know, being 20 months and 7, they don't have huge appetites compared to what my appetite is. So, second pita, get the first one done, all sorted. Get the second one out, roll it out with the hands, push it out, get all the air into the crusts, do the toppings and stuff. Charlotte comes in, wants to help, so I'm not really concentrating on what I'm doing. I was like, oh yeah, do you want to put it on the peel? So she, with her disgusting child hands, but it's her pizza, it's fine, gets it on the peel. It's like, great, go out, launch it into the rock box. Didn't put any semolina or flour on the peel because Charlotte was doing it. And so I watched it tumble onto toppings down straight into the rock box and then quickly trying to flick it round and create like a calzone, which obviously the children will not touch whatsoever. So I obviously ate it because, but it's one of those things where, like you said, when you're cooking at home, you get into a routine.
Yeah.
But if anything distracts you from that routine, you almost have to second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Or if there's grubby hands around doing their own things, that's the other thing, because they'll take a step out that you haven't even considered yet, and then it all goes to pot, right?
My worst thing with pizzas, I've done this a few times. Am I allowed to say second fails?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
One of two things. When I fail with pizzas, because I've got an uni, I use it. I can't be faffed making the dough the day before. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I just get frozen dough now and defrost it. But when I'm getting the dough out and I'm getting all the air out of it and things like that, I either do it too thin, or I'll put the tomato sauce base on it, and I'll try and be a smart ass and prep 2 or 3 at once. But the first one you do, the sauce just go into mush, so you just
sticks to everything,
sticks to your peel, or you go to get it off, and you can see a hole in the middle of your pizza in the oven, and there's dough stuck to your peel. Oh, it's terrible. But yeah, I do love pizzas. I don't know. I ain't got the patience for the dough bit.
And it's never as quick as people say.
No.
When they say, "Oh yeah, it's a minute, 90 seconds." It's like, well, maybe on a professional pizza oven. I mean, the Rock Box is great, the Uni's great, but particularly if you've already done 2 or 3 and you're trying to knock out 6 or 7, unless, to be fair, might be different with the gas, and I keep threatening to move across to gas on it, because when you've got kind of the wood burner, you've got to be constantly feeding it and keeping an eye on it. But I just like burning things, like setting fire to stuff. That's why. The cooking process does slow down. You can still get the exact same results, but all of a sudden, if it becomes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you're stacking that on top of 4, 5, 6 pizzas, you can't get them all out at the same time, right?
Yeah. I've got my.
I kind of think that's all right.
You can get 2 pizzas in it now, can't you, in the new one?
Yeah.
I kind of think that's all right, Dan, though, in terms of what you're saying. I think.
Tell it to my wife. Why are we not all eating together?
Yeah, I think when it's a pizza party, though, it's kind of different, right? You just as and when they come. But also, I don't mind. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a pizza cook in a minute. There's 2 reasons. One, I don't think I'm patient enough to get it up to 500 degrees. Get it to 200-300. That'll do for me, because then. But I like to watch the fire, and I like to watch it start to cook. I think if it was all done in 90 seconds, there's not much theatre for me.
Yeah.
I actually prefer it to take a little bit longer, because I like to watch it rise and cook and all that kind of stuff.
I like to watch the fire, Your Honour.
Yeah.
That's why I'm outside.
I know what you mean. Waiting for the stone to warm up is a pit, because you kind of think, oh, we'll have pizzas tonight. It's quick, it's easy, it's great. And then it's like, oh, all right, I've got to wait for this stone to warm up. And if you live up north, it takes longer than it does down south. Let me tell you, colder up.
I did actually. It was I'll say this is a near fail, but so I'd had a caravan holiday last week, so I took my Masterbuilt portable grill down, popped it outside the caravan, and we had family come over to us pretty much every night to do and I was doing the barbecue, as you would expect. And I just bought some really cheap briquettes. I bought my own firelighters and everything to make sure. I don't like the fuel, the kind of oil-based ones. I always go for natural. Anyway, it took forever and a day to get these briquettes going, and it was starting to wind me up. We were talking like it nearly took an hour, whereas everything I'd done on this portable grill would take 15 minutes, as you would expect.
Yeah.
So I ended up asking someone to get me some lumpwood. Lumpwood seems to work better in this particular grill than my experience with briquettes. Anyway, the only ones they had was the old light in a bag. But because I don't know if you've seen the portable one, it's kind of like got a tiny little firebox.
Yeah,
and it's fan assisted, etc. So you can't fit a whole light in the bag. So I cut the bag open and just poured some in, but still used my fire lighters. But forgot that light in the bag stuff has almost got like a fire coating on it, hasn't it, to kind of let it go up quickly. So my fire lighter on top of the lubricated charcoal, on top of the lube. So as I kind of opened it, there was the kind of heat goes through the box, through the manifold, and kind of obviously heats everything up. But all you could see, it was almost like an exhaust pipe backfiring with this fire kind of coming across. And I was like, out with my sausages going. Luckily,
why did you burn down the caravan, my friend? Oh, Your Honour, I like watching the fire.
Yeah, exactly. It was some boy racer with his backfiring exhaust. Right, so barbecue bingo.
Yep.
It's been a while since we've spoken about this because of Dan's move, but Dan, do you want to just do a little recap?
So we ask every guest to leave us an ingredient for our Wheel of Fame, should we call it? Which effectively is a number of different ingredients that people like to barbecue. Some examples on there might be things like artichoke, beef tongue, beef neck. Depending on the guests we've got, sometimes they're really nice and leave something that's a nice ingredient. Some people don't. But what we'll do shortly is we'll spin the Wheel of Fortune, not patented, of course, that name, and it'll land on a barbecue ingredient. So hopefully by this time, Owen has shared his screen and you'll be able to see some of the different ingredients on that wheel. Is that coming across to you?
Yeah, I can see it, yeah. There's some absolute rotters on there, isn't there?
Go on, run us through the rotters. Yeah.
I'm not a big fish eater, so I mean I shouldn't have said that, should I? Because now it's going to land on something that. Yeah.
All of these are leftover ingredients from our last season. The only one that you'll see on there is my signature dish. Yes. So that is ultimately what you're best known for. Sounds like it's beef ribs, but you may tell me otherwise.
I think if it was a case of what would people ask me to cook, it'd probably be beef ribs. If it was what would I like to cook, I'm sort of really basic. It would be steak or burgers.
Okay, so if it lands on that, your choice essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, and also just in the back of your mind, have an ingredient ready to leave for the next guest.
Yep.
That's an interesting one. Artichoke.
Yeah.
Have you used that in barbecue before?
Not in barbecue, but I used it when I worked at Linden Stores, the fine dining restaurant. Really nice dish, actually. I'm not sure how I'd because we deep fried it, so I'm not sure how. I'm not a fan of putting pans of hot oil over live.
Really? Over live flames?
I'm sure I could think of something.
Does
I'm quite happy with that. I could have got a lot worse. A lot worse.
Yeah.
Artichoke.
Okay. So what are you leaving for the next guest?
So the thing that I'm going to leave is something that I've never actually eaten. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But I have a plan to eat it, and it's something that I've noticed the last few weeks has been quite popular in other people who are doing pop-ups and things like that. And it's chicken hearts.
Oh, I have had numerous chicken hearts before, and they are an acquired taste, and I would say the threshold for mess up is quite high. I've had good ones and I've had horrendous ones. But you'll find they're quite often served in a lot of the Brazilian all-you-can-eat restaurants where you turn the thing over, green, keep bringing me food, red, but you've got to request them.
Yeah, so I always say take them away and just bring the picanha, please. Just keep that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. I am going to try them. That's why I've suggested, because I'm going to try them myself. I've seen some people do some pretty interesting things with them, so yeah, I'll give them a go. But artichoke is my one. I will definitely do something with artichoke.
Yeah, look forward to if you post them on socials, just tag us in and we'll give them a reach out. But yeah, interested to see what you can do with artichoke.
100%, yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're kind of coming towards the end now, Steve. So just wanting to, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you would love to kind of talk to us about?
Ask us
questions. Yeah, questions. Talk about what is. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover?
Well, I think the obvious one is when From the Shack podcast starts up. Are we gonna flip these roles? Are you guys gonna come on as guests?
I think not only are we going to flip the roles, but you might be able to get 2 episodes out of us if you do us one at a time.
That's a good shout.
But that's up to you, of course.
I don't know, that's a good shout. That's double the content for half the effort.
And we'll tell you that means everything when you're doing this.
No, I think that's a good shout. I think that's a really good shout.
We exclusively actually only, apart from doing this podcast, we don't actually ever talk to each other. We don't like each other. We'll only do things separate. We're like the Oasis, the Gallagher brothers.
Like if we're going somewhere to do any collaborations, we did one recently with AOS Outdoor Kitchens. We take 2 separate cars, and if anything, I just like to drive up his backside, beeping at him the whole way.
just in case you have a tiff on site.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean that's on film now, so you can't get out of that. There's nothing else really. I think I don't really want to plug anything because most of the stuff I spam Instagram with everything that I'm doing anyway. So people are probably sick of seeing and hearing from me.
We'll tell people where they can find you on socials then.
So on Instagram, it's Charred Food Co, all one word. I have a Facebook group called I Can You Can Cook. If you're interested in any, that's not like themed around barbecue, that's just cooking in general. It's a really cool group, actually. I've been dead lucky with it. I think there's nearly 4,000 people in there. I've never had to tell anyone off for being a douche or being horrible. So I've been quite lucky. But yeah, on my profile on Instagram, if you click on that, all my links are on there. I've got so many. I'm a bit of a weirdo that I have an account with everything. Like I say, I just go all in. But Instagram's probably the best place. Or TikTok. TikTok seems to be doing okay for me for videos, but most of my photographs and things that I'm doing or announcements go on Instagram. That's the most user friendly for me, I think.
Perfect
Great stuff. Well, it's great to meet you, Steve, and look forward to being on your podcast and seeing what's upcoming soon.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me, guys. It's been great to be on. Finally chat to you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great speaking to you.
And you. Take care.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for another episode of the Meet and Greet Barbecue Podcast. It was great to talk to Steve and find out more about his journey, the fact that he's about to launch a new UK barbecue podcast, which we can't wait to hear, and just about how he's moved into chefing and pop-up catering around barbecue. As ever, we want to hear from you, so you can now directly in the episode description, there will be a link to essentially direct message us. So please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you, find out what you want us to talk about, what your thoughts are about this particular episode or anything else. It doesn't even have to be barbecue related. So make sure you click that link and drop us a text. Until next time, keep on grilling. Today's episode is brought to you by AOS Kitchens, the South's leading outdoor kitchen design and installation specialists.